the 24th of August 2025. In the previous video on the Trump threw the EU under a bus, I said that Trump laid wreaths at the graves of Russian soldiers who died during World War II, accidentally, usually in Alaska. They were on the same side. I meant to say it was President Putin did it. I made that wee mistake. Sorry. Sometimes that can happen when you're watching equipment and everything. Now, I just wanted just a few of the responses, and there's one here I'm very excited about. I think it's probably true. It's Peter Malutin, 7407, to that video, and he says, 65-year-old Alaskan native chiming in. An Alaskan native. Imagine that. Thousands of miles away from here. It's really on the far side of the earth. It's just still in the northern hemisphere. I'd love to go to Alaska sometime. Russian Orthodox faith indoctrinated upon birth by my parents. So he's obviously a Russian Orthodox. So I'd love to know, is he in the East or West? Or I know there is a community of Russian Orthodox with their own church and bishop in Alaska from the time that Alaska was part of Russia. So maybe he'd chime in a bit more there and give us a bit more. I'm very excited that I reached somebody like that. So Russian Orthodox faith indoctrinated upon birth by my parents seems to be parallel Christian views in general. Well, my understanding is that a Viking fella went over across to Kiev in Ukraine, and they had boats. They went into France, and they went off looking for new lands. There was always a scarcity of land, and that and the Vikings had a roving or a wandering lust. It is amazing they didn't conquer America earlier. But anyway, they were going across the mountains from Eastern Europe, and they had a boat. They could go up the rivers, but they pulled the boat over a mountain and arrived at Kiev. Anyway, they set up a kingdom in Kiev. I remember seeing a documentary on this, and they wanted to establish a religion. And they held a seminar, and those four religions came in. One was the Catholics, one was the Orthodox, one was the Christian, one was the Orthodox, one was the Muslims, and there was another one. Do you know, I can't remember it at the minute. But anyway, he asked the Muslim about there when they explained all, and it was great. And then they told him that he couldn't eat bacon. He couldn't eat bacon. Couldn't eat pork. And he couldn't drink. No drink. No alcohol. Go here. I don't have none of that. And then I think the thing about the Catholics was he didn't want the Pope to be in charge of his religion. And so he founded the Eastern Orthodox Christian Church. I think that's what happened. And then there may be various brands of it, but it was all over Russia, and there was a church in Alaska, and it's still there, and they have a bishop, and they met President Putin. So to have this man come on, if it's a man, I presume it is amazing. Now, I'll just read it again. Russian Orthodox faith indoctrinated upon birth by my parents seems to be parallel to Christian views in general. Sure, we're the same. And I was told one time that if a Catholic, which I am a Roman Catholic of sorts, I don't do much, I don't brag about it, but I am a Roman Catholic, definitely. Irish Roman Catholic. And I remember when the church had a big say, they could take the babies of girls that got pregnant. But anyway, that's a lot tamed down now. It's not like that here now. So sometimes here I am, the bell rings in the church. It might go off anytime at the moment, but it does, I'll let you hear it. But anyway, so this guy, he was a big chieftain or a king. He established the Russian Orthodox Church. So your man says here, this man says that faith was indoctrinated by his parents. It is the same. We were told that if you're abroad and there's no Catholic church, you can go into an Orthodox church and receive Holy Communion. I remember that being said. I think it was a missioner or something. I don't know if that's right, but they said that the two faiths, if there's a Catholic and an Orthodox church in the same town, you must go to Mass for your annual weekly obligation to the Catholic Church. But if there's no Catholic Church, you can go to the Orthodox Church, and that fulfills your religious obligation. I was told that. I don't know. Look, it's one of those things we hear down through the years. Now, so anyway, he says he was indoctrinated into him, and parallel. Oh, they're parallel. They're very, 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 very similar. The Protestant churches don't agree that the Blessed Virgin is an agent of Christ or a body of Christ. I don't know what way they have it, but they don't accept her in the same way as Catholics do. And definitely the Protestant churches do not agree with transubstantiation. They don't accept that the body and blood, bread and wine becomes the body and blood of Christ during the Mass. They don't accept that. That's the difference in the Protestants and the Catholic Church. I'm nearly sure the Orthodox churches do accept both of those things. So we'll see what he has to say anyway. And indeed, we are witnessing a historic moment in the US of actually having a leader to fight for his people. Yeah, whatever is about modern politics, whatever is about it, once a person gets elected in a country or anywhere, promising to do good for his people, he'll still get the medical cards or get them something that maybe they're not entitled to, or get the potholes fixed. He'll do a little bit of that. But by and large, he'll put all his efforts into serving people that never heard of him. He never heard of them. They don't know where the country is. This is a very strange phenomenon. And that's why all this migration is taking place. There is the word out there all over the world. If you're looking for a career and you're in Africa or you're in Pakistan, you might be able to get a career as a bus driver or a train driver. So why not go to England or Ireland or the United States? You get everything free. You get a great start off. The government is all for you. And I can't understand that. You would imagine people would elect governments that would work for them. But that doesn't happen. The British government is the most typical example. It will do anything it can for anyone and protect their rights, protect their good name, protect their status, protect everything they have, and jail anyone that stops them, except the people who elected them. And that is it's like the two-slit experiment I did. It's a mystery. So he's talking about Donald Trump. He's talking about Donald Trump because he's an Alaskan Russian Orthodox. That's what I think he is. I'll be great if he come on back again. We'd love to hear from you. Love to hear from you. Because it's great. Imagine, I think if my site attracted somebody like that, and I presume it's a man, but we're not sure. And indeed, we are witnessing a historic moment in the United States of actually having a leader that fights for his people. Yeah, Trump is putting America first. There's no doubt he is putting America first. He mightn't always succeed, and his various capers and things mightn't always succeed. But his heart is with the American people. He absolutely loves America. He adores the place. He thinks there's nowhere like it. It's like the Woody Guthrie song, "This land is your land, this land is my land." You know that. And he really does. Just because he makes a bit of like he's a bull in a china shop, it doesn't take away from the fact that he's the only leader I know, other than possibly Vladimir Putin, and probably the Chinese leader, who actually loves his country. The Canadian fella hates Canada. Hates it. France hates it. Starmer hates it. Frederick Merz hates it. He's a funny mix. The new fella in Poland is a bit better, and your woman in Meloni in Italy, she loves Italy, all right, and Italy is a beautiful country. It is a beautiful country. The Spanish government, everyone except the Spaniards, and they still vote for them. So it's an amazing thing, something I just identified. And he says it here, US government, that actually having a leader that fights for his people and not the interests of the European Union. What does he owe? What does Trump owe the European Union? He owes us nothing. This is the idea. America they have to look after us. That's just parasites, essentially. And their quest to keep the world in turmoil, there is no doubt about it. Letting Germany off the hook and letting them loose with weapons. If they get loose with weapons. I'm telling you, they'll bomb everyone and they'll turn on their neighbours. They'll turn on France, they'll turn on Britain, they'll turn on Poland, Russia, anyone. They still believe, the same as they did the time of the Kaiser and the time of Adolf Hitler, that the Germans are entitled to rule all of Europe, including Russia. You know, it is unbelievable. Others hopefully will get the same idea. He says again there, fight for his people and not the interests of the European Union and their quest to keep the world in turmoil. Others hopefully will get it. They started that war in Ukraine. That war would never have happened if there had to be decent people running it. No. And then they'll tell us the Russians are going to take over Europe. Who would want the creepy crowd? Who would want them? Would you send Russian soldiers into Paris, a dirty hole? Now, the next man here is Victor Maxwell. I know you always do, but it's a great start to each video with the date. Very good for later reference. Did I not give it? I'm sorry. I thought I did. I always try. I was one of the few YouTubers to give the date. Seems very relevant to me. You look at a video, could be made 40 years ago. We have regulated ourselves out of existence. Oh, you can't buy nitric acid now. I used to use about a litre every 2 years for various things. Now you can't buy it. You have to have all kinds of registration and everything else. You can get it diluted, which you do, Nick, but no, and several things. You can't get cadmium-based silver solder, which has a particular role. It has a health hazard, and certainly you can put health things with it. But sure, lots of things are dangerous. Now, the next thing, Oliver Clifford, it's about taking people's freedom, subjugation. Yeah, they want to take away our freedom. A lad like me, they can't stand me at all. It took a long time for the lefties to get off my back. Oh, you're a curmudgeon. Used to tell me, oh, no, farmer with cows, They just can't bear anyone that's close to nature. Geopolitics are difficult for sane people to understand. It is a science. It is a science. That's from William Parry. It is a science, William. I understand it all right. But you need to keep up with it. It changes a lot. Essentially, what George Galloway says is that Europe was living on the conquests it made all over the world. Sure, the British thought to have America as a colony and take all that's in it and take all the wealth and everything that's in it. But the Americans kicked and had a war of independence. They didn't give up that without a fight. They still have Canada. And Germany had places, and France had a lot of Africa, taking all the goods out of it and not paying for it. So I think I have a fair grasp of it. There is different stories about 660 billion. This is Pat Coughlin being given to the US. Von der Leyen says it's investment in the EU companies, not from EU tax coffers. Yeah, and what he's saying there is, I presume it's a fella, is that its companies are investing there. I don't know. But still, it's European money going into American investments. I'd say it's companies like BASF Chemical Company who are establishing places in America, and they're using investments to start in America. So that's jobs gone in Europe. Anyway, we might hear more. Some things, I don't know everything, you know what I mean? Kevin YouTube. Nothing. He says nothing at all. Now, this is Pat Coughlin again. When the US broke up, Ukraine held a nuclear weapon on behalf of the USSR. I believe that's the truth. They had nuclear weapons. They had them on behalf of Russia. Had they not given these weapons to Russia based on being protected by Russia, what a mistake that has been. That, I believe, is the truth. Ukraine had its own weapons. Imagine if they had a nuclear weapon now. They were persuaded to give it up. Isn't that amazing? I think that is right. They sent them off to Russia. Wouldn't be as easy knocked over now. Now, Julian6716. Bang on, Val. Calicalis is a dumbbell, a walking disaster. There is no doubt about that. That is no job for a silly person like that. Right, we'll move to go back a little. So now, it is August, and I am entitled to do a wee bit of science. But we'll see the reaction we get. Brilliant explanation from Ireland Dunn of a classic experiment. So that's a praise for me. When you feel people praising you, that's the time to watch out. Be very careful there, Val. Messing with atoms can be dangerous, Mr. Aina. Well, we are made of atoms. I don't think I'll be making an atom bomb. Anthony Reedy says 26 minutes and 18 seconds, just like humans. You can be happy and sad at the same time. Now that comment means absolutely nothing to me. He might as well say mubbledy jubbledy bubbledy bubbledy jubbledy jubbledy juckledy joo diljuckledy juckledy juckledy joo. Why do people print that sort of stuff? Another fellow here says that it's all about the instruments. The two-slit experiment is not all about the instruments. The instruments. It's nothing to do with the instruments. It's whether it's been observed or not. If it's been observed, it acts as a particle. If it's not been observed, it acts. If it's not been observed, it acts as a wave. The instrument is just an extra, added in way of spying on it. If you have the eye watching it and there's nobody watching the eye, it's a wave. It's only when you look at the monitor, it turns to a particle. This is the biggest mystery, and think possibly the biggest mystery in quantum mechanics and in nature. This cannot be understood, and I want to give you some idea there. So this thing of rubbishing what I say there, that's not true. Now, Val Kerrygold has changed his recipe. Abandon co-op from now on. Recipe for what? Isn't there butter? I think there's cheese, is there? I'm not sure. Yogurts. I don't know. Maybe you clarify. Now, M-Stack, that bit where they say it collapses, I always like to think of it, if it, like a sonic boom, like when lots of sound waves all hit your ear at the same time. Lots of electromagnetic waves all hit the eye at the same time, and we call that a particle. I have no idea what I'm talking about. No, what he's on about there's some cattle marts in Ireland and they have speakers up. And if you stand in a certain place, you will not hear the auctioneer. And that's because the waves are intersecting like this. And instead of having sound waves, you have a straight line. And you have to move. You'll see nobody sitting under these seats. Yeah, that's acoustics. That's science in its own. But it has nothing to do with the two-slit experiment. The two-slit experiment simply means that once you look at it, the particle collapses into it's a wave without being observed, and when you observe it, it collapses into a particle. They use the word collapse. Then there's another fellow here, Davik89. They can see electrons with an electromagnetic ESM, something microscope, electroscanning microscope. Well, yeah, a little bit. I don't know. I'm not inclined to agree totally with that. But they're doing a lot. The problem with making a microscope to see electrons is the microscope itself has to be made of electrons. So, well, the photon does not split continuously, as you say. This is what Einstein said. I didn't say it. But say 1,000 photons are traveling together from a star. Over time and distance, they split apart slowly. Your eye will register a signal. At a short distance, your eye may see 100. At 100, at a greater distance, more drift. Your eye will catch 10 photons dimmer. barely visible. And an Aboriginal's eye can detect one light photon of light. You and me need 7 or 8 photons to notice. Register a signal. Love your vid. Well, are you saying me an Aboriginal, he has to be in Australia to see? An Aboriginal has different eyesight to me. When I was young, when I was young, I could see a fly on a galvanized roof a mile away. Not so much now. So I make the point. Einstein simply said that the photons travelled out and they kept dividing, like the sparks from a grinding iron, grinding metal. They keep splitting. But where is the energy for that? I maintain they do not travel as photons at all. They travel as waves. And when they reach the eye, or whatever is detecting it, when it's been observed, it collapses into a particle. And that way it only needs enough energy to get to the eye. That's my theory. Now, having said that, that's only a theory. Nobody knows how it realizes it's been watched. Anthony Reedy makes the point, we're all stardust, humans and particles. We are all made of stars. Everything in our body developed in stars. Right, hydrogen, oxygen developed in stars. Hydrogen isn't. So water is part hydrogen. It's 2 parts hydrogen. So that's not star, but the most of the stuff, all the chemicals in that in our body are all stardust. Maybe particles are sentient. So sentient is a big word. We people are sentient. We can experience feelings. So this is the point. How do they know? How do they know they're being watched and not being watched? This is tested about 10,000 times. You'll get videos there online with it. Now, Val, the neutron is heavier, not smaller than the proton. The neutron is considered to be a proton and electron combined. Well, I'd argue that. I watched a lot of stuff and read a lot of stuff. That's the first time I ever heard of that. With a little extra energy emitted when it is broken down, usually a nuclear reaction. The thing about the proton is it never changes. There's no such thing as an ion or an isotope in a proton. It's either a proton or it isn't. If it's a proton of aluminium, it's a proton of aluminium. Good night. That's the end of it. Whereas the neutron can have different forms, and the electron also can be an ion. That's why you get deionized water for your car battery, or it can be an isotope, but not the proton. You have to have a specific number of protons. Iron is 26. So I'm not so sure I agree with that, but I won't have time to go into it here. Val, observation isn't just the eye. This is no Hendon. When a photon is absorbed, that is measurement or observation. Closing your eye won't make a difference. It will hit your eyelid. It's an opinion. Like we're all guessing with this. Whether the physics are in the room or not makes no difference. Well, if you close your eye, you're not observing it. And the evidence is that when you close the eyes, it goes to a wave. So if everyone in the room is looking at the monitor, and they do that, it goes back to a wave. And when they open their eyes, it goes back to a particle, and the recorder will show that that's what happened. It's not that you leave the room, it's that you're not observing. You're not observing. Now, a Dublin photo part. Val, I'm not fussy about whether I see particles or waves. See, this is the problem. A lot of people have no interest in this. What am I supposed to do? Just have someone that's into gardening and do videos on gardening all the time. Now, it's not mostly air. This is northern. No, it's mostly air. It's a vacuum or a quantum field. You wish to be more precise. It's not air that's inside in an atom. Look, I said air. That's what we use for empty space. So really the atom is too small to have air within it. But what's in it is in my opinion, they say it's empty space. No, it's not. An atom is waves until it's observed, and those waves take up the whole atom. Definitely, if it goes down to a particle and they're flying around, there is space. So this is high science at the very best. Is it a vacuum inside it? That's I never read that either. Now another man here, John Phelan. This is the very stuff science, and this is the very stuff of science, and well explained. Here's the scary bit. An atom can be in two places at the same time. Physicists call it quantum superposition. No, the particles, the electrons, can be in two places at the one time. The atom itself stays put. If you have molecules of steel, the atoms stay. When you put electric charge through it and use it as a conductor, it's the electron moves. The atom stays the same. The electrons are shoved in one side and they come out the other. Now, so I don't know, ghost stories and things. There was a video of to be interviewing. That's it. We'll do it at 26 minutes. On the shape of the political spectrum, of course, all the smart fellas joined in to say the thing I drew was like a toilet bowl. It's like I should have put the hands on the clock. It was meant to look like a clock. But anyway, no harm to have a bit of fun. So it reminds me of a story they used to have long ago of an old lassie. Her husband died, and he left a will that there'd be a clock put in the tower. There was a tower in the market square in the town, and there was a hole in it, but there was no clock. So he left money for the clock. So his widow ordered the clock, but the people that ordered were chancellors, and there was no clock. They were rooting ahead, it wasn't coming. So she was coming home this day, and she wanted to go to see the clock, and she went down, and one of the workmen, they said she's bad sight. They got him to stick his bare backside out where the clock should be, and they said to him, brought her down, and they were hoping she'd see nothing, and she looked up anyway, and she was looking, and he says, "Well, madam, what do you think of the clock? Isn't it beautiful?" He says, "Your man's backside was sticking out." And she says, "The pendulum and the weights are swinging nicely, I have to say, but the keyhole has gone very rusty." One of the most sensible posts is Teresa Dixon. "Val, we love these chats with a nice cup of tea." That's the way they're meant to be a chat. Yeah, it's no harm to pick me up on stuff, but put me wrong on where I make errors. Sometimes I scrap whole videos because of an error I make. But anyway, it's a bit of fun anyway, and a bit of crack. We'll see you back soon. That chap in Alaska, I'm amazed at that. I really am. I'd love to hear back from him. And just, are you a man? You give your age. What part of Alaska? East or west? And your people probably go way back into Russian times. I see there was talk between Trump and Putin about building a bridge or a tunnel under the Bering Straits. See, that's the thing. See, Trump is looking at the bigger picture. He's not looking at squabbling over a couple of acres here or there. And he's not woke. That's the thing about him. Anyway, folks, we'll see you back. Good luck. Bye-bye.